Welcome back to Top 10 Mysteries. Friends, Africa is the second largest continent in the world in terms of population, behind Asia, third in terms of area, behind Asia and America, and in it are hidden many unknowns. Interesting findings are very shocking. What does the coffin dance at a funeral actually mean, and where does it originate? Where there is a festival, where it is very easy to change wives and husbands, you don't have to worry about being jealous. Why don't Africans like seafood? And all the other strange truths are waiting for you to explore. Now join me in the video, 8 strange facts discovered in Africa. The largest floating slum on the planet. The rickety wooden houses floating on the black water, full of foul-smelling garbage, a thick layer of white scum gathered around, are home to more than 200,000 people in the Makoko slum located in Lagos, Nigeria. While Lagos is the largest city, a commercial center, Nigeria's main industrial park with high-rise buildings. In the slum, the wooden house is built from hardwood, supported by a wooden floor inserted deep into the buoy. On average, each family here has between 6 and 10 people living in that hut. Public toilets are shared with 15 households, domestic waste and plastic bags are discharged directly into the river, and then people continue to use that water source in their daily activities. Even children often bathe and swim in dirty and smelly water. The only way to get drinking water is to buy it from suppliers, taking it from bore wells. Electricity, clean water and housing are extremely luxuries for them. People also use canoes as a means of transportation from one place to another, and at the same time to fish and carry goods for sale, although all the goods are cheap, but it also helps them have a little more money to spend on daily life. Later, a team of architects came up with a floating school made from 256 recycled plastic containers that created space for classrooms as well as a children's play area. Back in the day, Makoko was a small fishing village built by fishermen from Benin more than 100 years ago. Now, the population of Makoko town is mainly migrant workers from West African countries, trying to make a living in Nigeria. Next is the unexpected truth behind the familiar coffin dance. The meaning of the coffin dance at a funeral. Friends, coffin dance, also known as dancing coffin, was very famous on Vietnamese social networks in 2020 since the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, becoming the most haunting sound in the world at that time. Boys wearing suits, sunglasses and carrying coffins danced at a funeral with an electronic music song, EDM, called Astronomia, posted on social networks, garnering more than 400 million views. But few people know that its origin is from Ghana, a West African country that is richer and more successful than its neighbors thanks to its gold mining. So it is in the top 10 precious metal producers in the world. So why? A funeral that should have been sad and crying danced happily like a festival. That's because, according to Ghanaian beliefs, the soul of a deceased person remains close to relatives and patronizes the family, and the way the coffin is raised and lowered seems to express a natural law of life and death. Dancing with the coffin will make the dead feel at ease, continuing their new life in the afterlife. So no matter how tight the economy is, they still try to pay the cost of renting a dance team. And carrying this coffin for up to 400 USD at once. It is so popular that the Peruvian police also danced in this style to advise people to stay at home to avoid the epidemic. Even coffins are in the spotlight in the West African country. They are often bright or brightly colored, intricately designed, shaped with objects that the dead loved or symbolize their profession. For example, if the deceased used to work as a carpenter, their coffin will be designed in the shape of a hammer. The shoe-shaped coffin is a symbol of the shoemaker. When they were alive, if were not allowed to travel in a car or plane, they would immediately make a coffin in the shape of a car or an airplane. And if they were passionate about eating, it could be a shape of a corn, a house, and even a unique Nike shoe in the world. And there were also cosplay coffins of children's toys, fish, chickens, butterflies. People are willing to spend $1,000 to have a uniquely shaped coffin, even though they only earn $3 a day. That's just the lowest price. Some people spend $5,000 or $15,000 just to buy a coffin. Africa is also a paradise for crocodiles, not because of their large numbers. Why? Let's find out with top 10 mysteries in the next part. Crocodiles live with people, are given funerals when they die. The longest lived, most legendary crocodile in Africa is probably the Gustave crocodile. It is said to have eaten more than 300 people. The Gustave crocodile is one of the most famous man-eating monsters in history. In 2008, National Geographic estimated that it was about 6 meters long and weighed more than 900 kilograms. While the average crocodile can only live to be about 45 years old, Gustave is now over 60 years old. I don't know if it's alive or dead. The next 5-meter-long crocodile in Uganda once ate 80 villagers, and it was catched by 50 people. The giant Nile crocodile named Osama, 75, which killed and ate 80 people, was once a nightmare for villagers living in Luganga, on the shores of Lake Victoria in Uganda. Between 1991 and 2005, the bloodthirsty crocodile caused the death of 1/10 of the village's population. Villagers tell each other stories of crocodiles dragging children into the water when children go to fetch water on the shore of the lake, or deliberately overturning boats to eat people. Hearing the name Osama means you know who it's named after. It's just missing the letter Bin Laden. Once, Paul Kiwalyanga and his brother Peter were on a fishing boat when a giant crocodile threw itself out of the water, drowning Peter. Peter tried to struggle for 5 minutes before sinking completely to the bottom of the lake. A few days later, they found his head and arms. In 2005, to end the crocodile infestation, a group of 50 people tracked down the Osama crocodile for 7 days. 50 locals and rangers set a trap to lure the crocodile. When it jumped up to grab the bait, its mouth was tightly wrapped in the net. The men just waited for it to run to tie up the animal and put it in a pickup truck. The crocodile is preserved in its life. You reap what you sow. When its little descendants are skinned as handbags for fashionistas in Italy and Korea. Elsewhere, namely in the village of Bazul, it is home to nearly 200 giant crocodiles. It was normal for adults to feed them, children to play on their backs, and swim in the same pond. There has never been any crocodile attack on humans. Dead crocodiles will also be carefully buried. When you touch a crocodile, you don't lose a little skin, that's what the people say. But I'm also very scared. Why Africans don't like to eat seafood. Friends, Africa is very rich. I don't say rich in emotions, but rich in resources, accounting for more than 30% of the world's mineral reserves. Tanzania is famous for gold, Congo for copper, Namibia for uranium, Botswana for diamonds. And most of the time, when it comes to Africa, people's first impression is that Africa is very poor. People eat a lot of things that people in other countries find very scary, such as snails, bats, and even use mosquitoes was to make cakes. But there is a paradox that they often eat lobster too much. To put it simply, lobsters here are cheaper than meat. 1 kilo of lobsters with 4 lobsters is only 8 USD kg, calculated as 2 USD head. In particular, the seafood here is not only in large quantities, but also very large in size. People in coastal villages in Africa, where the climate is hot and the conditions are still difficult, so they do not have refrigerators. And the seafood caught during the day cannot be sold, so it is considered to be thrown away. How can they eat forever? To be honest, looking at shrimp, crabs and seafish, I feel craving. But when I went on a trip to the sea to eat seafood for 3 days, I got fed up. That's why Africans don't like to eat seafood. The second is that the cooking technique here is very simple. Sprinkle a little salt on the lobster and then boil or grill it, so it is not attractive. Then, speaking of this, I feel drooling. Does anyone want to go to Africa to eat a seafood meal of a lifetime? Comment number 1 below. The festival of stealing wives, exchanging husbands, is unique on the planet. First of all, there is the Gerawol festival, which robbed wives and swapped husbands of the Fula Wodabe tribe in Niger, a country in the West African region of 24.1 million people. Feel free to change wives and husbands without worrying about being jealous. During the 1-week festival, held around September every year, is a beauty talent contest of boys to be chosen by beautiful women. They spent 6 hours preparing, painting their faces with red clay, painting whiter eyeliner, applying lipstick to brighten their teeth, and adding white ostrich feathers to their hair to cheat on their height. In the game, the boys will show off a dance called Yake. Then they will race camels, showing off the dowry. The winner has the right to choose a girl he likes, including married women. Meanwhile, if a girl has feelings for a male contestant, they can abandon their ex-husbands and go to new husbands, or get married to multiple men at once. And unmarried girls are comfortable having sex with who they want. Because of this, the men of the Wodabe tribe are very afraid of losing their wives. After marriage, the woman will stay with her husband, but when they get pregnant and give birth, the children will follow their mother's surname and be entrusted to their maternal family to raise. To be precise, women came to power in the family. Spit to pay homage to the Maasai. Spitting in front of others is unhygienic and ungraceful, but for the Maasai people of Kenya and Tanzania, it is a kind of blessing and show respect. They greet each other by spitting. When a young Maasai man greets an elder, he spits on his hand before reaching out to shake his hand. Spitting on babies is also a common practice. They thought that doing so would protect the child from evil spirits. In addition, after the wedding ceremony, the father also spits on his daughter's forehead to bless the children. Well, it's a bit unhygienic, but it's a custom that is difficult to change. Competing for uniqueness are women who are bare-chested, who have not bathed in the water of the Himba tribe all their lives. Women do not wear clothes, keep their breasts bare, even when in contact with strangers, and only wrap a small cowhide loincloth to cover the lower part of their bodies. The Himba measured wealth by the number of cattle in the barn. In other words, the more cows you own, the richer you are. They also buy, sell and trade cows for food, water, and even marry their wives. The most special thing here is that they don't bathe with water all their lives. So how do they cleanse their bodies? It is a dry bath, thanks to smoking and sauna. Their sunscreen is also very different, which is a reddish-brown mixture of avocado fat with an earthy powder, aromatic sap from plants. This mixture helps girls with smooth skin, resists the scorching sun of the desert region, repels insects, as well as helps the body to be odorless. Like the Himba tribe, it doesn't matter if other things are or not. Cows are the only thing that exists, is the Mundari tribe in South Sudan. Here, when in addition to using cows to marry their wives, the Mundari people often take advantage of cow urine instead of a source of domestic water. People use bottles of cow urine to pour on their heads. people snuggle their heads directly into a cow urinating and use their hands to catch urine to wash their faces. Wash your hair refreshingly. The tribe also drank cow's urine and said it tasted salty. And they even washed the baby's bottle with cow's urine. If you drink cow's milk, just suck it directly into the cow's nipple, not pasteurize it. More surprisingly, in order to stimulate the cow to produce more milk before milking, the Mundari people also put their faces on the cow's anus to blow air. Each blowing air can last up to 4 minutes. One person is tired, another person will take his place. Do you know where is likened to hell on earth? It's the following place. Where the god of death does not sleep on earth. The Danakil Depression in the Danakil Desert in Ethiopia, an African country, is the hottest place in the world. It is now a convergence of deadly disasters such as volcanoes, geysers, earthquakes, and extremely poisonous water. At a depth of nearly 100 meters below sea level, the temperature of the day here rarely drops below 50 degrees Celsius, but often touches the threshold of 60 degrees Celsius, making this place like a giant fire pan, a typical crater that is likened to the gate to hell. Below the depression is a boiling lava flow just 20 kilometers from the surface. Only the most desperate birds try to get through this barren area and try to drink a little water. During the drought, it is full of carcasses of birds and camels that die of dehydration. The terrible heat in the desert causes floodwaters to evaporate quickly and leave behind layers of crystalline salt, which are most dangerous when the land is flooded with toxic sulfur. If a fire occurs, its combustion product is highly toxic sulfur dioxide, SO2, that can be fatal if inhaled in large doses. Although they know that there is a dangerous place, but for the sake of livelihood, the only Afar people who choose this place to live still have to endure day after day just to get salt. Salt is encountered everywhere, packed into scales and stacked in a meter-long pile on the ground. To get salt, workers only need to use a pry stick or hoe, so that each ball is about 35-40 centimeters long, weighs 4 to 5 kilos, then loads it on the camel's back and carries it back. Each year, people in the desert exploit up to 35,000 tons of salt. And the reason for the production of so much salt is that in the past, salt was used as money in Africa in exchange for goods. And up to now, the salt here is mainly used for humans and provides minerals for more than 60 million cows and goats on the continent. A poor African boy changed his life thanks to a meeting with a Vietnamese boy. Loi Con and Quang Linh Vlogs are the two most popular names on Vietnamese social networks, which is doing lovely things, selling on livestream with brothers and sisters, going to Vietnam to study. Returning to the miserable past, Loi Con's real name is Mativado, and he is 5 years old this year. The boy was born into a poor family in Angola. On the first day of meeting Quang Linh Vlogs, Mativado wore torn clothes, no slippers to go, and often came to receive charity items from Quang Linh's group. More than 3 years ago, his parents applied to work at Quang Linh's farm. He was fascinated by Mativado's cuteness, so he adopted the boy and took care of every meal and clothes. Thanks to contact with many Vietnamese in Angola, Mativado speaks Vietnamese very well. The boy belongs to many Vietnamese children's songs. The boy also caused a fever because of the moment he rejected Miss Thuy Thien's cheek kiss, and when he found out that it was Miss World Peace, he regretted it. Currently, Mativado is very fond of Thuy Thien when he was filmed crying many times at the moment of parting with her. At the end of April, he and her father followed Quang Linh to Vietnam and were welcomed like a child star by hundreds of fans at Noi Bai Airport, Hanoi. I have to admit that he is quite lucky that 150 million African children are suffering from poverty and climate disasters. So, this is a new market for the need for adoption, with nearly tens of thousands of children adopted by most European countries. For each child, the amount of money the raiser receives before giving someone else up for adoption can range from 10,000 tons to $30,000. That money makes brokerage organizations and orphanages greedy. In most cases, children who are identified as orphans have at least one parent alive, and they can even be deceived and sold by their families. So we can see how lucky we are to be born in a country where our parents love us dearly. If you find it right, please confirm it below for me. The journey to visit Africa is over. Thank you for watching this moment. If you want to see more discoveries, tap on the videos on the screen or subscribe Top 10 Mysteries channel to not miss any interesting videos.
With